Welcome, brothers and sisters. My name is Eros, and I am the Doll Maker. Today we will dive deeper into spellwork with the second part of our lesson about candle magic. Today we will learn how to charge and cast a spell. Please keep in mind that to actually cast a spell, we need to have developed the skills of meditation and sigil making. And in sigil making, I am also including the ability to craft a declaration of intent, just like we've learned on the previous series in this channel. Once we have acquired these skills, we know that in the previous lesson, we have learned how to plan and prepare our spell. So we have decided what we want to cast our spell for. We have crafted our declaration of intent. We have decided what forces we want to call upon for our spell. So of course, either an element or a planet, more often than not a planet. And then we have calculated the timing for our spell. So we have calculated the planetary day, eventually the planetary hour, and eventually also the moon phase of the moon cycle in which we want to work on. Then we should have acquired the materials through our experience or through the study of our herbaries or consulting the lists we've made on the previous episodes of this playlist. So, we should have at hand our candle, if possible, always of the color of our first correspondence, of our first planet or element, or a white candle if we can't find anything else. Then we should also have prepared our herbs, our oil, so our base oil or our carrier oil, if you prefer to call it a carrier oil, which will be in our case extra virgin olive oil or a good olive oil or a good seed oil. Or if we know how to prepare one or we have a trusted source, our magical oil. For the time being, we will usually use a base oil, a carrier oil. Also, we should have prepared anything else we want or need for the operation that we've learned works best for us through our experience, that is working for us through our experimentation. You always need to experiment what you've learned. Or if we are going to work in advanced or particular operation. For the time being, ignore this step. Also, we should have prepared our sigil of the declaration of intent, as we've learned before. Then we can proceed to charging and casting. Don't worry, we are going to proceed with our usual step-by-step approach. I just need you to be relaxed in all of these steps. You need to be relaxed and concentrated on what you are actually doing. I need you to be there when you're casting a spell. Then we will proceed with step number 1, preparing the space. So we are going to choose the space we want to work on, or we need to work on. And we are going to clean and make order on the space that we want to work on. Of course, if we are working outdoors, if we are working in nature, we can't really put it in order. We are going to pick a peaceful place and eventually clean it up if it's messy, of course. Once we've done this physically, we are going to spiritually purify, clean the environment. How do we do that? We need to do this we need to do that with the intent of purifying the space. And once our intent is clear in our mind, we are going to proceed with a fumigation, usually. A fumigation through incense or with smudge sticks, sage bundles, or simply by burning sage on charcoal. But your intent needs to be clear. In addition to this, or in substitution to this, if you can't do that, we are going to apply a visualization of purification. Talking about this visualization, there are a lot of options in different traditions, and maybe in the future we are going to explore more options. But for the time being, I want to suggest you the one that works, the simplest one that works best for me and many of my students. We are going to make a feeling light purification. So, what we want to do, don't worry, it will be extremely simple. We are going to relax, close our eyes, and we are going to imagine a bright, white or blue light descending from the universe, from the eternal light, into ourselves, filling us. And from ourselves, this light is resplending on the environment we need to purify, on the room we need to purify, completely scattering away debris, black shadows, psychic residuals. We are going to usually visualize shadows or black debris simply wiped away. As I said, an extremely simple solution, works extremely well. Then, optionally, we are going to cast a circle in which we are going to perform the working. This is an optional step. Casting a circle depends on your experience and on your tradition. Maybe we will see in the future many ways to cast different circles, different power circles. For the time being, if we don't know how to do that, the spell will work completely fine. The circle is just a way to overclock, to add additional symbologies to our spell, to make it even more powerful. In our tradition, we usually perform the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, because it's a ritual that allows us to completely purify the space while also cast a circle, while we are also casting a circle. But don't worry of the lesser banishing ritual for now, because we will see how it works right after we are done with basic spell works. For now, in the beginning, we are simply going to clear, put in order, and spiritually purify through fumigation and visualization the environment we want to work in. Then we will proceed with step number 2. We are going to purify ingredients. We are going to purify our ingredients in this step or in the next one. Depends on your preference. The important thing is that we are going to purify our reactants, our ingredients, one by one. Usually through fumigation, usually with the same incense that we have used to purify the room, to purify the environment. With the same sage, with the same incense, and so on. And or with the visualization that we've learned just before. Remember, if we have already an altar, we are going to purify the space in which our altar resides, in which our altar lies. And when we are purifying ingredients, we are going to work upon our altar if we already have one. Otherwise, a clean and ordered surface will do the trick. Then we will switch to step number 3, in which we are going to prepare our spell vector. So we want to take our candle, which should be purified, or we are going to take the candle and purify it. We are then going to carve the sigils necessary for our operation in the candle. And while we are carving the sigils, we are going to make simple visualization of why we have chosen those sigils for our operation. One by one, we are going to carve a sigil, visualize, carve the second one, visualize, and so on. For example, allow me to make an example. Let's just take the example that we did on the previous video. So I want to find a new job. I want to use as correspondences Jupiter, my first one, Venus, and my declaration of intent. What am I going to do? I'm going to take my purified candle, or take the candle and purify it. I'm going to carve the sigil of Jupiter, while I am visualizing why I have chosen Jupiter as my main correspondence. So I'm going to visualize the abundance that the new job is going to bring me, as if it is already real right now, as if it has already happened. Or I'm going to carve the sigil, and once I've done it, I'm going to gaze at the sigil, and I'm going to do the visualization right afterwards. Then I'm going to carve the sigil of Venus, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to visualize the sensation, the feeling, and I'm going to visualize with all of my senses and all my emotion, how it will make me feel to have that new job. Or I'm going to carve it, and then I'm going to gaze at the sigil and make the visualization afterwards, right afterwards. And then the same will be true for my personal sigil. Always try to visualize with your senses, all of your senses, and emotion. And of course, we are working with wax. Wax can be a little messy. So, especially if you are working upon your altar, please use a plate or a tray of some sort to avoid any sort of damage. Once we've prepared our candle, our vector, we are going to go to step number 4, in which we are going to add ingredients. We are going to add our physical correspondences that should be purified, or we are going to take them one by one and purify them one by one before adding them to our magical vector, to our magical candle. So, first of all, we need to take our oil, if it's purified, otherwise we are going to take it and purify it, and we are going to anoint our candle. In this step, we can also add an additional correspondence. We are going to keep the candle in front of us, and we are going to anoint the candle from top to bottom towards us, if we want to bring something towards us, if we want to bring a situation, a person, a job, anything to us. If we want to banish or repulse something, if we want to if we want something to get away from us, if we want to push away a situation, we are going to anoint the candle from the bottom to the top, away from us. If we are working in an operation that doesn't really require banishing or attracting, we are going to anoint the candle usually from the middle to the top and from the middle to the bottom, just to anoint it and stabilize it. Then we are going to add all the other ingredients, usually herbs, one by one. Of course, they need to be purified. If you know your herbs, if you already have a little experience with herbs, while you are applying them, you may want to visualize why you have chosen that specific herb, that specific reactant. I always suggest to apply the oil and the herbs with your own hands. I know it can get a little messy, but it's a lot better. Now, if you do not want to do that, you may, using your plate or your tray, roll your anointed candle towards you to attract towards yourself, situation, persons, and so on, or away from you if you want to push something away, banish, project away energies. In both directions, if you have no specific need of attracting or banishing. Also, as always, remember, if you are working on your altar, this process can get really messy. So use a plate or a tray. Once we've done this, we are going to go to step number 5. Our vector is completely ready. We are now going to charge the candle. Usually I perform this step right after the candle is ready. If you are just beginning, don't worry, you can take a little pause to regain strength. But we are going to usually charge the candle during the same process in which we are physically preparing it. To do this, we are going to walk in our space, the space we prepared, and we are going to take our candle and we are going to set the mood. We want to get on the emotional field of the operation we want to perform. We want to resonate with our operation, through our emotion with our operation. Of course, optionally, we can use music, usually relaxing music, or music that resonate with the operation. And optionally, you can also use incense to set the mood again, to bring you out of the ordinary. Once we've done this, once we are on the right mood, we are going to enter a meditative state. And once we are ready, we are going to open our eyes. Please do remember that at this point the candle is not lit yet. We are going to open our eyes from our meditative state, and we are going to extract all of our desire for the result of the operation, and we are going to pour it, to push it into the candle itself. We are going to give all of our strength, all of the strength with which we desire our results. We are going to take it from ourselves and push it into the candle until we almost feel exhausted. If we want to act like advanced practitioner, we should be exhausted at the end of this process, at least tired. If we are just beginning, I recommend to do this process at least for 10 to 20 minutes to begin with. Of course, your better thermometer for when the candle is ready is when you feel tired of this operation of pouring your desire into the candle. Once we've done this, usually the day before you are going to cast a spell, so you can regain your strength. But if you are just beginning, you can do a few days before the operation, so you got all the time that you need to regain your strength. Once we have poured all of our desires, we are going to put the candle away, to distill, to ferment our desire, and also to keep it away from the eyes of people not involved in the operation, because they can alterate what happens with doubt, with expectation, in many ways. Put away your candle once you are done with charging. Then, when we are ready, we are going to proceed with step number 6. In step number 6, we are actually finally casting our spell. So, first of all, we are going to make sure that our space is still purified, or we are going to purify it again. Then we are going to take our prepared, our charged candle, we are going to place it in our candle holder, or if we don't want to use a candle holder, we are going to slightly warm the bottle of the candle and stick it in a plate that we can use. And of course, as always, if we own one, we are working upon an altar. If we need to, we also, and we want to, we recast our circle, optionally. Then again, we are going to stand upon our candle, we are going to relax, we are going to close our eyes, then we are going to enter a meditative state. When we are ready, we are going to open our eyes, we are going to light the candle, or if you prefer, you can light the candle when you start your meditation. Otherwise, we are going to now light our candle, and again we are going to pour all of our desires with all of our strength in the flame of the candle to activate it. And while we are pushing all of our desire into the candle, we are going to visualize our results as if it has already happened. The result of our spell as if it has already happened, with all of our senses and with all of our emotion. How it will make us feel as if it has already happened. Forgive me if I repeat myself, but this step needs to be extremely clear. It's the actual casting of your spell. We are going to do this until we feel exhausted, until we've lost all of our strength. Ideally, if you are just beginning, please keep in mind, usually in the beginning, we need to do this at least for 10 to 20 minutes. Then we are going to proceed with the last step, which is step number 7, letting go. Now we have two options. Once we've done, we can blow the candle off, and we're going to get rid of what remains of the candle. This is usually done when we need to don't be discovered if we are still in the closet, or if we need to get rid of a very heavy or dark operation. But usually our better option is to let the candle burn down. It's a much better option. You are going to let the candle burn down even without concentrating in the candle. You are simply going to let it run down, but always while you are in the same room. If you need to go away to leave the candle, never leave it unattended. You need to never to blow, you need to snuff it either with your fingers, with a snuffer, much better, or not really much better, with your fingers, with a snuffer, or if you ain't got anything, with a spoon, of course. Now, always keep the candle burning only when you are in the presence of the candle. Once we've done one of these steps, either the candle burns down or at a certain point you're going to blow it off, we need to get rid of the candle. And we are going to get rid of what remains of the candle in an elemental way, just like we did with sigil magic. So we are going to burn it in a flame, we're going to burn what remains in a flame, we are going to let what remains go in flowing water, or we are going to bury it in earth. Air is not really applicable in this case. You may pulverize it and scatter what remains from a very high place, but it will be very messy and very inconvenient. So I don't really recommend it. Of course, if you are walking in a longer launch, you may want to repeat step 6, casting the spell, for many days in a row, for very heavy, for very important for you operation. If your divination or your intuition suggested you to cast 4 consecutive days, usually one casting is the right casting, but there are operations that actually requires more days. So follow the instruction, your intuition or your divination. Then, once we got rid of what remains, we need to completely let go of our feeling toward the result of the operation. We need to trust our skill, we need to trust our operation, and we need to trust the eternal light, or the universe, or God, however you want to call him or her, to manifest the result of our operation. Here's a little trick. If for any reason what you have casted for, your desire, comes back to your mind, let it pass, just like we did for meditation. Be grateful for your desire as if it has already happened, and let it pass right away. Now, we are done. I know this has been a very difficult episode, so feel free to rewatch it, to take your notes and learn what you need. Watch it as many times as you want. I hope you will use this technique to your best advantage. So really, my best encouragement for your magical practice. Always remember to be careful what you wish for, and I hope I will see you in the next episode, in which I will explain my tips and tricks for spell work. But as always, I deeply thank you for your kind attention, and may eternal light shine upon.